Good evening. The BJP MP and senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani has made some fairly startling claims concerning Hindenburg and the attack of Hindenburg on the Adani Group. In a long post on social media, the platform X, Mr. Jethmalani has claimed that a China link exists to the short sellers' attack on the Adani Group. He says that the SEBI notice to Kotak Mahindra Bank over the attack has exposed the China role. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has recently issued a notice to Kotak over the Hindenburg report. Mr. Jethmalani has claimed that Hindenburg and Kingdon Capital are linked to China in the Adani short selling case. He goes on to say that Kotak's offshore funds raise China retaliation concerns. We've got Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, the Rajya Sabha MP and senior advocate, with us. Thanks very much for being with us. I thought it might be good, Mr. Jethmalani, to ask you some fairly basic questions and get some answers, because a lot of people won't really know many of the details or what exactly it is that you're trying to say. So question number one, who is Mark Elliott Kingdon?
Well, he's an American businessman, and his role in this entire transaction is, we all thought originally that this was a Hindenburg hit job or whatever you might call it. But Hindenburg, in his response, and this has come only recently, why these new facts have emerged is because Hindenburg's response to a SEBI show cause notice, right, came in the public domain only very, very recently, right? And in that, they pointed out that there were two other entities. They said, we are only a researcher, right? We research companies. We entered into a contract with, a fund, a company owned by Mark Kingdon, the name you just mentioned. The trust fund which was involved in the case is the Mark Kingdon and his wife, Anla Cheng Fund. That's the fund's name, right? And he said that we entered into a contract with Mark Kingdon, etc. And it was for a research paper on the Adani Group, right? And at the same time, they also entered into an agreement with a Kotak overseas investment outfit, right? Which set up a special purpose vehicle, KIOF, Kotak India Opportunity Fund, which you mentioned, right? And that was meant for starting a trading account for the couple's company. What they did was they didn't want the report to come out before they took certain steps. So the trading account was started through KIOF, and monies were given by their major fund, their family fund. Their fund is mainly owned 36% by them, and the remaining 64 is one of the areas which have to be gotten to.
Right.
36% owned by the couple, and then the money was given to their trading account, and Kotak through the Mauritius route.
Okay, I'll come to Kotak in a moment. Yeah. But my second basic question: did Kingdon's fund?
The last part of this is,
sure.
Last part of this is that the trading account was used only for shares, trading in Kotak shares. That's all. Okay. So they short sold them, and then they. Yeah.
Did Kingdon's fund make more than Hindenburg on short bets?
No. From the prima facie, the prima facie evidence we have is that the bulk of this went to the Kingdons. The bulk of the money earned out of this, 25 million, we are told right now, but that doesn't seem to be the entire figure. I mean, we need to find more details. So a little more study has to be done in Hindenburg's full report, right? And certain more questions may have to be put to Hindenburg by SEBI, right? So we don't know the size, the entire size of the cake, but a portion of it was to go to Hindenburg. Hindenburg was the researcher, but the real the entire trading operation was the funds, was the couple's funds.
Okay. Now, you have said in your tweet that Kotak oversaw the offshore fund structure to bet against Adani shares. Was Kotak aware of what they were getting into?
Well, they certainly knew that this was a short sale, a bear hammering transaction, right? Before the report even came up, before it was even made public, they had already taken short positions in Adani shares. So Kotak certainly knew that this was going to be a short sell trade in Adani shares. And, when they covered their short sales afterwards, when they had, after putting the margin money up, they covered their short sales after the report was published and the mayhem ensued and the shares fell down. So that's how the short sellers make, the bear hammerers make their money.
From what we know, sir, does the role of Kotak Bank in Hindenburg, in the Hindenburg-Adani short selling case, is there hard evidence of a China-Hindenburg conspiracy?
But I don't know whether, look, Hindenburg at the moment seems to be taking an arm's length position with the investor, i.e. the couple's fund, as I call it, right?
Right.
So I don't know. The couple apparently, the fund and the couple, whoever amongst them approached Kotak, KIOF, right? Oh, that KMIL, that's the investment outfit's name. This was a special, KIOF was a special purpose vehicle. What we do know is that Kotak was the one who knew who were involved, right? Now, whether they knew whether Anla Cheng was also involved in the fund, whether they knew her antecedents, I don't know. But Hindenburg seems to have said, look, we were only the researchers for Adani companies, right? We were supposed to get a cut. So they also knew it was a short sell operation, right? We were supposed to get of the profits made from the short sell trade. And everything else, who the investor was, etc., was known really to Kotak.
Okay. Who is Anla Cheng?
Now, Anla Chen is the nugget that's come out in all this, right? Because Anla Chen is an extremely controversial figure in the United States. She's a Chinese American, right? But she ran two companies, one called SupChina, right? Now, SupChina was really a very pro-China initiative. And it basically promoted China's interests. And an insider, and this is where one got all the information from, called Shannon von Sant, who was an ex-employee of Sup India, and I put that out on a tweet today on X. Right, the entire sworn statement said that this was a very pro-China. It was subverting American interests and promoting China's strategic interests. Right. And she found the entire operation to be extremely fishy. She found that it was a hub for Chinese spies. All this has been put down in that, and she then made a complaint and a sworn statement to the U.S. Congress, and the U.S. Congress has taken it up. After the U.S. Congress took it up, SupChina, the company, morphed into another company called the China Project.
Yes.
But because of the heat it faced from US legislators, right, calls for a thoroughgoing investigation of all their activities, they announced publicly that they were closing the so-called China Project. Right? So those investigations are underway right now. They're mainly, a lot of senators are, I think Mark Rubio, former presidential candidate in America, last elections, is spearheading the whole campaign.
Is the Chinese Communist Party therefore targeting the Adani Group?
It would appear so. Look, I've also annexed an earlier tweet, right, to my tweet yesterday, in which I pointed out, in response to Jairam Ramesh's categorization of the Congress attack on Adani as a attack against crony capitalism. And I said, indeed, this wasn't an attack on crony capitalism, right? As we've now found out, because the Supreme Court has given a clean chit to the Adanis on a complaint by cohorts of the Congress party. It was all people close to the Congress party who took that public interest litigation to court. The Supreme Court has given them a clean chit, the Adani Group a clean chit on 90% of the, and I think there are one or two issues still pending a final inquiry. So I said that this seemed to be a hit job. At that time, I didn't know about Anla Cheng. Right? It seemed to be a hit job by China because China is extremely upset about having lost many bids, at least 3 bids to my knowledge, on overseas projects of strategic interest. Right? There was a railway line in Australia, a coal mine in Jaffna, and a port in Israel, in Haifa port. And that was probably the most crucial one. And I think this hit job was in close proximity to the losing of these contracts. So, timing-wise, it raised a suspicion in my mind, right, Why the Congress got into it with such gusto, only they can explain.
Does the Congress campaign undermine the Adani Group's growth?
I think the Congress, this whole campaign is now backfired because initially it did seem to have some political fallout. It certainly had a market fallout both on Adani's market cap, and there was the poor retail investor took a big hit on this, right? But since then, the Supreme Court clean sheet has come. Adani shares are almost back to where they were pre-Hindenburg, right? And the only ones who have egg on their face right now are all those who took this up as a crony capitalist issue and not as for what it really was a Chinese hit job on Adani on an Indian company which was serving India's strategic interests abroad.
All right, lots of points there, but thanks for clarifying and explaining some of the basic ones. Mahesh Jethmalani over there in that exclusive interview with NDTV. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you.